What started this trip for me? A very random and somewhat bizarre meeting with a friend turned me on to the Mountain Collective Pass. It's a $400 voucher that could be used to claim 2 lift tickets at any one of 11 mountains, most of which have daily lift ticket rates of about $100 each. It sounded like a screaming deal, $2,200 face value of tickets for $400, and the nearby Whistler and my favorite ski destination Sun Valley were both on the list. Those alone would pay for the cost of the voucher, and it offered 50% off any subsequent day passes, so I took the deal. A few weeks later, I decided to map the rest of the 9 ski destinations and then realized how it was that these guys were making money on these passes. The most sensible loop that I could come up with hit a total of 7 mountains on their list and amounted to about 4,000 miles. I wasn't intimidated though. I love road trips and do them regularly. Doing the math on the time requirement, I came up with this. 2 days at 7 mountains is 14 days of skiing. Add at least a day of travel time between. That adds up to 21 days, or 3 weeks. And that would be at breakneck pace, not allowing for filming, vlogging, or drinking coffee for 4 hours at some roadside cafe while waiting for my clip to upload to YouTube via their 280 kilobit internet. But what the hell? I felt like the fat kid at an all-you-can-eat buffet. I paid my $20. I'm going to make this worth it. And so the plans for this trip began. Ironically, my first stop was not at one of the collective mountains covered by my voucher. It was at Stevens Pass. 2016 has been a phenomenal year for skiing in the Cascades. Conditions have never been better. Stevens Pass was incredibly good on my earlier visits there, so I decided that it would be a good pit stop on my first 655-mile, 11-hour driving leg. Stevens Pass is named after John Frank Stevens, the first white guy that discovered it. Interestingly enough, Wikipedia says that natives and pioneers didn't use this route much when crossing the mountains in the late 1800s, preferring Snoqualmie to the south and Indian Pass to the north. John Stevens naturally worked for Northern Pacific Railways and surveyed the land where the company quickly built a railway connecting Seattle to Spokane. Infamously, Stevens Pass became the site of the deadliest avalanche in American history, which took the lives of 96 people who were snowed in and stuck aboard 2 Northern Pacific trains near Wellington in February of 1910. The railroad eventually built a tunnel 1,200 feet below the summit for their trains. But in 1937, at the height of the Depression, 2 guys, Don Adams and Bruce Kerr, decided to use some of the Civilian Conservation Corps funds to start an alpine ski resort. The first lodge that was built by the CCC burned down 2 years later, but I guess that didn't keep them from building what is today one of the best ski resorts in Washington. Today, the resort sports a handful of high-speed quad lifts, but unfortunately most of the mountain is serviced by older and slower 2- and 3-person chairlifts. Despite this, the terrain is diverse, the backside has especially nice contour to it, and the proximity to Seattle makes it my first choice for local skiing. An awesome feature that we have here in the North Cascades is night skiing. Although with sun going down, the temperatures often drop off sharply, the experience is weirdly enhanced by the fact that lighted runs are actually more visible at night than during the day. Daytime skiing often feels like skiing by braille. Brightness of the sun, the gray cloud cover, and white snow combine into conditions where the contours of the mountain are very difficult to see. At night, the low yellow light generated by the giant halogen projectors allows you to see every bump, lump, and bulge. The numbers of people on the slopes also tends to dwindle towards the evening, so the conditions become prime for the kind of skiing that I enjoy doing. The resort lacks any form of lodging, and although prices and variety at the resort-ran restaurants are reasonable, they are the only game around. Lift tickets are reasonably priced, and multi-day combo packs bring the price down to $40 per day. The drive there is beautiful, with towering mountain decks making sudden appearances around a number of bends. But Highway 2 is known by locals as the Highway of Death, which has claimed over 70 lives since 1999, mostly due to head-on collisions across its painted dividers. But in all, I find it well worth going to, and this last trip was certainly no exception.
Bye.